massive set. It's unbelievable. And Joy Taylor is joining me. I'm so excited for Miami.
I'm very excited. I'm going to get to see some family, a lot of old friends. I was there for 10 years. Are you going to wear, like, some tropical shirts?
Oh, yeah. That's who I am.
Because I have a whole Miami wardrobe plan, so get ready.
I bet you do. So let me start about this. I don't think it's terribly difficult to spot talent. American Idol. Remember that great show that was on Fox? They dominated TV, domestic TV, for about a decade. There's a reason they only gave people about 40 seconds to audition. That's about all you need. About 40 seconds, you can be lousy, lounge singer, could make a decent career out of it, or Carrie Underwood. It doesn't take much to figure it out. I mean, I'm not a big music guy. I sat there for years watching American Idol, and you can just spot it, sometimes in 15 seconds. Sometimes, if they're awful, the first note. My wife used to be in the restaurant business, helped build some restaurants. She can walk into a restaurant, and I've said this before. I've been with my wife almost 15 years. She'll walk into a restaurant, 90 seconds. She's like, big hit, big miss, moderate success. Never been wrong. That's what she knows. Every scout I know likes Jimmy Garoppolo. 50% of the fans are struggling with it. Folks, he got to a Super Bowl. He carried this team in the middle of the season when they fell apart physically. I'm not a stat guy. I'm an eye guy. Watch the games. But here's a stat for you. He is 8th in the NFL in passer rating. That's losing both of his offensive tackles this year, losing his all-world tight end. With so many young receivers they don't trust, they had to go get Emmanuel Sanders at the trading deadline in the toughest division in football with the most brutal gauntlet of a schedule the last 2 months, and he completed 69% of his throws and has the 8th best passer rating in football. Okay, there's your stat. Their schedule was brutal. The Packers' schedule was Cupcake City. Kansas City got schedule breaks, not San Francisco. It was brutal at the end of the year. By the way, Kyle Shanahan, we all admit, you're all saying this. Oh, Kyle Shanahan's the reason they're winning. He's 4-20 without Jimmy Garoppolo. He's 21-5 with him in San Francisco. Colin, that's not fair. What coach can win without their star quarterback? I don't know. The Saints went 5-0 without Drew Brees this year. The Eagles won a Super Bowl when Carson Wentz got hurt. Belichick went 11-5 without Tom Brady. And the Steelers, on their 4th quarterback this year, were in a playoff hunt. Week 16 and 17 went 8-8. Carolina without Cam was spitballing it for about week 12. You can win in this league with backups. You just can't win Super Bowls generally, but you can win with backups. Kyle Shanahan is a brilliant coach. 4-20 without Jimmy Garoppolo. What are you not seeing? I got down this rabbit hole last night with somebody, and Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a talented kid, but he's defined by shrinking in big spots. Will he beat New Orleans? Yeah, even a crappy real estate agent can sell a nice house occasionally. We define Kirk Cousins by he kind of shrinks in big spots. Doesn't mean he can't win an occasional one. I want you to think about, remember, the Vikings were 13-3 with Case Keenum. You could make the argument that Kirk Cousins, it's about the coach, the receivers, the roster, the defense. They were 13-3 before Kirk Cousins got to town. Okay, San Francisco, in the 3 years before Garoppolo, 2 of those with Shanahan were 8-35. I don't know. Listen, they say studies have shown that 10 to 15% of people don't get sarcasm. They don't even get sarcasm. So I don't think it's crazy to think that 50% of the public can't figure out if a quarterback has it or not. But I can remember when it's not just about winning. I remember when Tebow went on a winning streak, and I worked at the other place. And I would go on the air and be like, are you people crazy? This is not a franchise quarterback. I remember when Vince Young won, and I told people, are you people crazy? You can't win 15 years with Vince Young at quarterback. I remember watching Russell Wilson win his 2nd year and going, oh, crap, we got another great quarterback. I don't think it's that hard. If you just go to wins, that's a little bit of a barometer, but you can't do it solely on wins because Tebow won and Vince Young won. Mark Sanchez won games. But I don't understand the Garoppolo stuff. Did people not watch the middle of the season? Okay, so San Francisco in the middle of the season lost both of their tackles, their Pro Bowl tackles. They lost Kittle They had injured receivers. They lost Quan Alexander. D Ford, they lost multiple people. They lost their Pro Bowl fullback. Garoppolo had to carry them. And by the way, if you forget how tough their schedule was, I think people are forgetting how tough their schedule was. The last 8 games, here is who San Francisco faced. The Packers twice, Baltimore, New Orleans, the surging Falcons, Minnesota, Seattle, and a Rams team fighting for their playoff life. And Garoppolo completed 69% of his throws against that. That's the toughest 8-game stretch in the National Football League. What is everybody not seeing? Trent Dilfer yesterday on Jimmy G.
You go back to the middle of the football season, Jimmy G's the reason they won football games. They didn't win despite him. So just because he didn't have flashy numbers doesn't minimize his impact on the 49ers season. When you judge a quarterback, you don't just judge it for a couple games. You look at the entirety of the season. I think he's really had a great year, and he's the right quarterback for this team.
Yeah, I read these comments on, is it because he's good looking? Just because he's got a great coach? All legendary quarterbacks have great coaches. What did Joe Montana do without Bill Walsh? What did Bradshaw do without Chuck Noll? What did Aikman do without Jimmy Johnson? Won a Super Bowl, won with Barry Switzer, and probably wanted to strangle him the whole time. What did Dan Fouts do without Eric Coryell? You don't think Andy Reid helps Patrick Mahomes? Of course coaches matter. But if you can't spot Jimmy G's talent, you're the person that watched American Idol and sat there with somebody with a bad voice and were like, I don't know, sounds like a superstar to me. Some people just can't see it. I don't think it's that hard. Let me shift to this. I like the Niners to win the Super Bowl. I think it's close. I think it's exciting. And I do think the lead up to the Super Bowl, I think they played a much tougher schedule at the end of the year, San Francisco. Both teams are healthy. I like the fact they're coming in as an underdog. I like their defensive line better than Kansas City's D-line, and I actually like their offensive line better than Kansas City's offensive line. Obviously, Mahomes is a superstar. Jimmy Garoppolo is super talented. He's not Patrick Mahomes, but he's really talented. But the discussion is, and I think this does matter, when you have two teams that are both great, and they're both really, really good. I mean, nobody's going to be surprised if the Niners win or if Kansas City wins. I like San Francisco by an inch. That's how much I like them. And again, it's mostly on line play, not on anything else. I feel I got a good enough quarterback and a great coach, and I have a big edge on the D-line and actually a slight edge on the O-line for San Francisco. But here's the other thing that I think can matter. I think teams do occasionally get tight. The pressure's on Kansas City, not because they're a favorite. Ask yourself this. What are the headlines the day after the Super Bowl if San Francisco loses? So let's create a headline. San Francisco loses to Kansas City. Here's the headline. Jimmy Garoppolo, no, but the future's still bright. Jimmy G's young, Shanahan's young. Outside of Joe Staley, Richard Sherman, the team's young. The defensive line's all 25 years old and younger. George Kittle's young. It's a bunch of kids. This is the beginning of a rebuild in San Francisco that finally got the quarterback. This is a young roster. Again, outside of Richard Sherman and Joe Staley, Emmanuel Sanders, this story, they've already paid their quarterback. They've already paid their quarterback. They don't have to worry about that. Now here's the headline if Kansas City loses. Read it and weep. Andy Reid couldn't win the big game. What's going to happen now? We're paying Mahomes $44 million a year. Some of those veteran players we just can't afford anymore. Told you this wouldn't work. Andy doesn't develop running games. What are the headlines after this game? Narratives will start to cling to Andy and the Chiefs. There are no narratives here. There's no narratives. I mean, if Garoppolo loses to Patrick Mahomes, welcome to football for the next decade. Mahomes is going to beat virtually everybody. He's going to beat everybody. Even the great quarterbacks he's going to mostly beat. Even Travis Kelce, after the win, talked about the narratives that are on the Chiefs.
I love Coach Reid, man. He's definitely a part of the motivation. We're sick of hearing what the media says about him, how he can't get the big one done. And you know what? We knocked one off the list, got the Lamar Hunt Trophy back here in Kansas City for the Hunt family, and you know what? We still got one more goal to knock off the list.
I do think when you wait 2 weeks for a game, you can come in tight, and I do think the pressure is more on Kansas City. May not decide the game, but when people are asking, and I'm reading and I'm hearing, you know, who's got a little feel where this is going to be a little tight, I think San Francisco can come in here with house money, play their butt off. They got 3 veteran guys. They paid their quarterback. Shanahan, Garoppolo are here forever. Young receivers are here forever. Kittle, if he can stay healthy, is here forever. The right tackle here forever. The young corner Witherspoon here forever. I think it's a different vibe leading up for San Francisco than I do Kansas City. All right, coming up next, how about this? Joe Staley is going to be a Hall of Famer, left tackle for the San Francisco 49ers, going to stop by our show. How cool is that? As I said just moments ago, I think the D-line for San Francisco is a big story of the game. I think we're overlooking the offensive line, which manhandled Green Bay, and most of the teams they played down the stretch. Joe Staley is around the corner for us. Over 50 years ago, 2 men with a passion for engineering and motorsports started building race engines in an old abandoned mill, and they saw an opportunity on every wide open road, an invitation in every curve. Push the envelope, break the rules, chance to prove that a 2-ton family sedan could have the performance to compete in 24-hour track races. But shocking the competition and building a rep wasn't enough. Their vision was to expand upon the excellence they'd created. This engineering company continued to validate their belief by putting race car engines in luxury sedans and proceeded to stun the elite in world motor racing by winning and winning and winning. We may never truly understand what drives Mercedes-AMG to break barriers, along with every record in the book. But here's to allowing us to enjoy the results. Learn more at mbusa.com/AMG. Mercedes-AMG, driving performance.